Hey guys, it's Mama to Wife of One. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you're not new here, thank you guys for continuing to come back and provide dialogue about the show and just giving me feedback. It's very much appreciated. I will say two things right up front. This episode was very boring and Married at First Sight last night. And two, this is my second time recording this video. I recorded 25 minutes and then I accidentally pressed stop. And I was like, God dang it. So I got to do it all over again. So hopefully I remember all the great things I said in the first video and you guys will still enjoy it. So as you can see from the title, we're here to talk about Married at First Sight, season 15, episode 15. Another thing I want to say is that I always type my notes for the show. Last night my computer froze without me knowing it was frozen. So I had to write my notes by hand. So I'm sure I missed something. So whatever I missed, please mention in the comments below so we can address it. I'm very curious to see what you guys are thinking about the show. Did you think last night's episode was as boring as I did? Let's get into it. So my first video, when I was rambling on, I ended with Alexis and Justin. So we're going to start with Alexis and Justin this time. Few things. People need to stop talking to Alexis about their business. She was crowned the biggest gossip last week at the fake prom. We all know she's a big gossip. So why is Kristen talking to her? Why is Stasha talking to her? Now I know what this shit gonna do. She gonna just tell all your business. Stop talking to her. Justin got Maya out of doggy prison, and he had his best friend drive 17 hours to pick Maya up to take her back to his house. I'm not giving my dog up until after decision day. Until I know for certain that the person I'm married to says yes or says no, I'm not making that big of a decision. Because in his mind, and this is what I realized about Justin. So he gives up the dog. Alexa's there with him. She's like, I don't want you to go through this by yourself. I thought that was very sweet, very considerate of her. The only thing she said all episode that I agreed with, she told him, I understand giving up Maya was a big sacrifice for you, but I don't want you throwing that sacrifice up in my face every single time. I get it. I understand it, but I don't want you lording that over my head as proof that you're in this or proof that you love me. I already know that was big for you, so we don't need to bring it up again. You know, I thought that was fair. But there's so much to discuss. Okay, so first of all, again, I would not give Maya up until I knew for certain. Also, when they were in the car on the way back from the couples retreat, he mentioned the sex that they had and how he's going to start working out so he can build up his stamina. She said out of her mouth, do they have a machine that can help your thrust as well? That was just mean. That was mean. It was rude. It was catty. And that should not have been said on camera for all of us to hear. That was emasculating AF. If his thrust needs to be, I don't know, harder, faster, deeper, whatever, that's the conversation you have with him in the act of sex. If you guys are having sex, either push him in more so that you're demonstrating the kind of thrust that you want, or throw that thing back a little bit more to indicate that you like it harder, rougher, whatever. Give him direction. Men do like direction when you're having sex. Don't talk to him like a teacher, like his mother, but like, oh, baby, deeper, oh, harder, or whatever. You talk any other time about everything, about stuff going on with you, stuff going on with everybody else. You don't stop talking. You have an opinion about every freaking thing. So during sex, I'm sure you're not quiet. That's the time when you have a discussion about his thrust. Not on camera in front of us, and definitely not the way you said it. So don't have love for her for that particular part of the conversation. He also, I think, made the grave mistake when he gave Maya up. And he's proving, I made this sacrifice to you. He's equating his sacrifice as proof that she should say yes on decision day. That is not how that works. Your sacrifice has nothing to do with her decision. All she's getting from your sacrifice is that you are in this. Her decision is based off of whether or not she's in this. And whether or not she's in this has nothing to do with your status right now. She kept trying to explain to him, my decision or whatever I'm thinking should not influence or impact your decision, because you're going to decide what's best for you. You're going to decide what you can live with, what you can live without. You're going to decide if this is all worth it. That is your sole decision to make, just like it's my sole decision to make. Whatever she decides to do is not going to be based off of what you did. It's going to be based off of, okay, let me think about the work that I put in. Was all of this worth it? Have things improved since that first week, or have things constantly gone downhill? Is this relationship worth me working as hard as I am, worth me giving up certain things? Is it worth me not running anymore? Is it enough for me to stay here? Is there enough here for me to want to stay? That's solely Alexis's decision completely. And I do, agree with that part. But I feel like they butt heads a little too much. I feel like one thing Justin did say to Nate, he was like, I'm no longer leading with my emotions. I'm taking my emotions out of it completely. And I'm just thinking about what this looks like for me, thinking with my head, and just kind of putting pieces together. So I like that he's taking that approach. I think it's necessary for him to take that approach. So I applaud him for that. I think that, well, first of all, it's very funny. Nate doesn't like Alexis at all. He said, hold up, I gotta read what Nate said. Because Nate is gangster. And I love it. Nate is like, you know what? I'm not with the shenanigans. He and Justin worked out so that Justin could work on his stamina while Sasha and Alexis did some yoga. Nate said, let me see. I'm not going to be able to find it probably. See, I have actual notes now. That's just weird for me, guys. I don't normally have actual notes. But basically, Nate said that she's a liar and she's immature. Like, he doesn't beat around the bush, and he's like Alexis in that way. But the difference is Nate isn't like mean or catty or thoughtless in front of other people. And he'll just like say it to us, like, yo, she's trifling. Like, oh, tell me how you really feel, Nate. I don't think Alexis and Justin are going to make it. I don't think either of them are bad people. I think that, and I'm not like other people who are like, man, we need new experts. I don't think the experts make bad matches. I think the people that they bring together could possibly be a great match. I just think neither person is willing to sacrifice and put in the work that's necessary for this to be a good match. So it's really on the fault of the people who are chosen, my personal opinion. So I think Nate and Alexis could have possibly made it. I don't think that they will, though. I think it's just too much that's happened, and I don't think there's been enough progress, and not enough progress with the communication either. My personal opinion. And let's see, Sasha and Nate. I love that when Nate expressed some fear about children, and he made a really weird statement. He's like, babies and fun just don't go together. And the first time I heard that, I, being a mom to wife of one, immediately got my hackles up like, nah, let me tell you, moms can have fun and we can do this and we can do this. I was ready to kind of get on my little soapbox. But I love that Stasha, after having a conversation with him, she got to understand where that was coming from. It stemmed from his own, issues with his biological mother. But I love that this Stasha, who's 8 weeks into the process, understands that and is gently talking to him about it, as opposed to first or second week Sasha, who would have been like, no, it's a red flag because he don't know what you're talking about, and now things are going to work out, and blah, blah, blah. So I like that they've gotten to a place now where she's understanding what he's saying, and she's gently just trying to help him understand where she's coming from. So in his mind, he's equating fun as a mom or as a parent with someone who's like drinking all the time, hanging out all the time, not really being there as a mother for their child. Obviously, there's more than one way to have fun, and obviously you can have fun with your kids. And he told Sasha, like, my mom was really young when she had me. She was 23, my dad was 36. And Sasha gently told him, like, babe, I'm 37. The mindset of a 23-year-old who's about 2 years away from college, 2 years removed from college, and a 37-year-old, very, very different mindset. You got this person over here who's really discovering themselves and figuring out what they want out of life. And this person here is a little more established, a little more settled, still having fun, but they have their responsibilities and they kind of have their stuff together a little bit more than the average 23-year-old does. So those are two different ages. And also, these are two different people. Your wife is not your mother. She's married to you. She told you how much she really wants a family. She's trying to build this life with you. So give her the benefit of the doubt. And I think they'll be okay. But I really liked the way that she handled that particular conversation. I thought it was very sweet. I thought it was very warm, and it was very, sympathetic to him and how he's felt. So I really appreciated that. They went on a hike, which I thought was cool because in his vows, his friends talked about how he loves the outdoors. He likes hiking, sunsets, all that stuff. We haven't seen them do haven't seen them do anything outdoorsy and adventurous since the honeymoon. So I thought it was great that he kind of brought her into that world. Their big thing this episode was going to the house that she built. Now, I've said this before, that it's very difficult to have somebody move into your house and now automatically think of it as, oh, this is our house and these are our things. That's not an easy thing to really grasp, especially because she built this house from the ground up, which means I don't know how long the process actually is for building a house, but I know that it's not like a month. I know that it's probably at least a year. Let's say a year to be generous, or not to be generous. Let's say, well, we'll just say a year. So in that year's time, she has probably picked out or designed every room of that house in terms of what the room is going to look like, what each room is going to be designated for, the color scheme, the furniture, all of that. I'm sure she has plotted, because that's also her. She's very type A. This is what she does. So to already have an idea of what every room is going to look like, but now you're moving somebody in and you want it to be their space, that's not going to be an easy transition. But Nate is also very adamant, like, look, this needs to feel like my house too. I don't want to feel like I'm just moving into your home. So we need to figure out a way to make this both of our homes. So they went shopping for, somebody on Twitter said bed knobs and broomsticks, but they were, shopping for like knobs and stuff for the house. And she's like, oh, well, that's okay. But, I do have an idea. I'm a design person. This is what, like, I wanted to be your space too, but I have an idea of like, okay, we can't have it both ways. My idea of a compromise is, and he kind of said it, but he didn't really say it in this way. He was like, decide what rooms are a priority for you and then let those rooms be a priority. Basically, decide which room is the most important to you. Like, let's say the living room. The living room is normally the space where if you guys have company, that's where everybody's going to be. So that's the room that most people are going to see. Probably the kitchen, the guest bathroom, and the living room is probably the places that are going to be most used that most people are going to see. So maybe if she wants to put her focus on that, that's fine. But then give him the master bathroom, give him, and I don't know, a guest bedroom, give him the garage. Allow him to have some rooms that are just his, that he can design, put his stamp on, pick stuff out for, because that way he's able to leave a piece of himself in that house. And I think that's important for him. And whether you guys work out or not, and that was one of his concerns, like, what if, heaven forbid, we don't work out and now I'm homeless? So I think these fears are starting to come up because obviously, like I said, they're 5 or 6 days away from the decision day at this point. So obviously a lot of emotions are coming up and things are starting to feel really, really real. So I get it. And I do think they'll be okay. They are definitely my favorite couple. I love Nate and Stasha. I like the progress that they've made a lot. They are a really good couple. That they're going to do really great things. But, the fears and everything I think are very normal. I'm not surprised by it. But I think they're in a position now where they know each other well enough that they're able to handle a little bit better, which I can appreciate. Lindy and Miguel are exhausting. They really tire me out. So she got her insurance card from him, which is great. She agreed to hyphenate her last name, which is whatever. They played Dungeons and Dragons, which I was surprised that it took them this long to actually play Dungeons and Dragons together, because that's been his moniker from the very beginning. He's the poetry man, but he's also a nerd, and he plays D&D all the time. But this is the first time we've seen him play with her. And I like that he had one of his friends come over who plays the game all the time, but also Lindy got to bring one of her friends who's never played before. So I thought it was very even playing field, which was good. So after the game is over, Lindy's talking to her homegirl. Miguel goes to the rooftop, talking to his homegirl too. Lindy lets it all out with the homegirl, like, girl, I just don't know. The first 7 weeks were, he was consistent in the way he was. But this last week, he's been very inconsistent. He's been borderline mean. I feel like I can't say anything to him. And it's this and it's that. And I feel awful. He makes me feel horrible, all the stuff. So a couple things here. I think that, yes, it was important to be able to talk to your friend about this stuff. I think that that is necessary. But I feel like Lindy is misreading a lot of this in terms of him being consistent for those 7 weeks. Like, it's a lot going in my head right now. Lindy feels like she's been censoring herself because she doesn't know what she may possibly say that will make Miguel go off. I think that Miguel has also been censoring himself because he understands the background that Lindy came from. She came from a very controlling background with religion and everything. So I think he's afraid sometimes to say certain things to her, not knowing how she's going to react based off of her past trauma. They're both not really communicating that well. And I think because of that, this last week is now he's starting to say more things because he understands, okay, I want to spend my life with you, but we are 5 or 6 days away now from this decision that's going to change our lives. And if I don't say something now, then I'm basically giving you the false impression that some of the things you've said and done are cool with me, and they're not. And I didn't say anything before, but now I want to get it all off my chest. So that way I'm going to decision day with a clean heart, with you understanding where I'm coming from and me understanding where you're coming from. So I think that's why now he's starting to kind of not pick her apart necessarily. Last week he was picking her apart. I feel like this time it's just him expressing some things that maybe don't sit well with him and trying to get her to understand that. Her thing is, well, he's just trying to change me and this is who I am. And it's like, no, some of the stuff that you do or say, like, okay, some of the stuff is like, okay, I guess that's who you are. But she mentioned like interrupting him, like, that's just me. No, that's just rude. That's not who you are. That's a rude thing that you do, then maybe nobody's called you on. But no, he's saying that I don't like this. That's something you can actually change. You can make a really concerted effort to not interrupt this man when he's talking. That's the easy fix. You can't claim that it's just part of your personality. And that's what I mean. I feel like she's taking all the stuff he's saying and putting it in one little circle and claiming that this is my personality. He wants to take all of this and just throw it away. That's not what he's saying at all. I think she really needs to sit down and figure out exactly what he wants, exactly what he's saying to her, and then figure out what she's willing to change and what she's willing to not change. But I think on the flip side, Miguel's delivery just sucks as well. And I didn't like that when she said, I talked to my friend about everything. He was like, well, now I think you're kind of two-faced because you said stuff to her, but you couldn't talk to me about it. She was like, because whenever I do talk to you about it, I have this conversation with you. It ends up like this, where you think that I'm yelling, you think I'm having an outburst. So it's hard for me to communicate with you. So I had to talk to somebody. And it's like, you guys are going around in circles, and I'm really just tired by both of you at this point. It was just exhausting to watch them. I'm like, you know what? I just don't care about either one of you in this moment. I really don't. I think that Miguel is... I don't think he's controlling necessarily, but I said from a long time ago, a few videos ago, that there was something about Miguel that just did not sit well with me. And I think maybe it's just his delivery. I think he talks to her in a pretty condescending way, like she doesn't know any better, like she's kind of dumb. And I do think, though, that Lindy is whiny. I think she's immature. I think she's very naive. But I don't know. I honestly don't care about either one of them. Like, I really don't care about either one of them. Let's get to Mitch and Kristen. What I will say about Mitch does not know how to keep his mouth shut. Mitch just keeps going and going and going. It's like, Mitch, please shut up. So he went on a work trip. Kristen missed him. They FaceTimed. They called. It was the first time really being apart since they got married. And it was cute because they missed each other, and it was, it was very sweet. He comes back. He goes surfing with Kristen and Luna. And Kristen notices he doesn't have his ring on. She's like, oh, where's your ring? He's like, oh, it's right here. I got it. I'm sorry. And put it on. She's like, did you wear your ring on the trip? He's like, I wore it part of the trip. Per K. Why? Like, oh, well, I didn't want to wear it around some people because then I would have to explain stuff and this would turn to this whole thing. And so I just, wore it sometimes. And she's like, oh, were there pretty girls on the trip? Oh, my wife is jealous. She's like, I'm not jealous. I'm just asking. Yeah, I mean, I guess. She's like, no one prettier than you. He should have left it at that. That was a great line to say. That's what most men would have said. He left it at that. But no, he kept going. Well, actually, no, there were some really pretty girls. We did go to the beach. We went surfing a little bit. So there were some really, beautiful women at the beach. Why? You just kept going. Why, Mitch? Why'd you keep going? Let me tell you something. The idea, I know some people who are either married or not married are like, oh, it's not a big deal if he wears his ring. Like, who cares? Like, y'all know y'all married. And that's fine for you and your household. For me, no, I don't play that. Now, I have my ring on. I don't wear it all the time in terms of, let me back up. I wear it every time I leave the house. I only wear it inside the house when I'm doing videos. If I'm just in the house all day, I'm not going to put it on. That's because I have sensitive skin, and wearing any of my rings too long kind of shakes my skin a little bit. But my husband's the same way. His ring is right here beside me. So he's in the house. He's not going to wear it while he's in the house. But when he leaves to go to work, I always check to see if his ring is on his finger. Not that I think anything's going to happen. It's not going to stop a woman from trying to holler at him. It may not even stop him from trying to holler at a woman either. But it's just like seeing my ring on his finger. For me, I just like seeing that. So for Christian, it's like, oh, well, it's not a big deal. I feel like the fact that he's like, oh, I just didn't want to explain anything. What is there to explain? Most men aren't focused on where you got a ring. And he said it's mainly a bunch of men there with very few women. Most men are going to look like, oh, man, what's that on your finger? Most men don't really think that way. And even if they do, you'll be like, oh, I got married. And leave it at that. You don't have to have explanation. You don't have to say how you got married. You don't have to say how the marriage is going. You can just say, oh, I got married, and let that be the rest of the sentence. Like, that's it. So that was a very flimsy excuse. It doesn't make any sense. And then he proceeds to be really inappropriate, kind of funny, but still like, Mitch, what are you talking about? So Mitch and Kristen hang out with Alexis and Justin. Again, why I'm telling you any of your business to Alexis is beyond me, but whatever. So they're with Alexis and Justin, and Kristen mentions like, oh, Mitch didn't wear his ring, some of the trip. Lex is like, well, why, Mitch? I don't understand. He's like, well, actually, I did go to a jacuzzi. There were like 100 beautiful women around me. And I did have my ring on, but it was a cock ring. And it was Nate's, though, so it was too big and it kept falling off. What? And you, again, kept going with this narrative. It's like, he's so, not even awkward. I don't know if awkward is the right word for him. I don't know if inappropriate is the right word for Mitch. I think Mitch just doesn't care. But I do think, and I said this in last week's video, I don't know. I know Mitch has never had a long-term relationship, but I want to assume he's at least had a girlfriend or two. But sometimes he acts like he doesn't know how to talk to women. Like he doesn't really know the right thing to say. And it doesn't come off as awkward. It just comes off as he's not thinking, okay, I need to either censor myself or phrase something a little bit differently depending on who I'm talking to. I don't think his mind works that way necessarily. And it's really interesting. And I feel like, I think he genuinely cares about Kristen. Like, I fully believe he genuinely cares about her. I don't know. And I think Kristen cares about him too, but I just don't know if that's enough. I really don't. And I said this before, I don't think he should have been picked for the show. I feel like the show needs to have, and they did have a spinoff called Undateables, where they would help the people who weren't picked for the show, help them to become better candidates for actually dating. So I think that's a good idea, is use these same experts to have a dating version of Married at First Sight, where you're just maybe dating at first sight. I think that's fine to kind of give them practice when it comes to talking to the opposite sex, when it comes to actually going on dates, when it comes to follow-up after a date. Like, I think that that's fine to do that. And I think someone like Mitch could really benefit from that because he's never had a long-term relationship before. So his first long-term relationship should not be getting married. It should be, let's get you a girlfriend that you have for 1 or 2 years first. Like, you have to have a lead-in, I think, to marriage that he did not have. So I think that impacts the way he really speaks to Kristen and the way he handles certain situations. I don't dislike them as a couple, but I said this before, I don't know what he's brought to her life. He's brought her the title of being a wife, but I don't know what he's actually done to really benefit her as a person. So I don't know. I think that last night was very boring. And if you guys are keeping up, we're at episode 15, right? That means we've been watching the show now for 4 months and 1 week. Next week, they're going to have old couples from the show and singles from the show, people who got divorced, who are going to weigh in on their predictions for this current season. And then the week after that, we're going to have finally decision day. Next week, I'm going to watch. I don't know if I'll do a video. I don't know if it'll be necessary because they're just going to do the predictions like I do my predictions as well. So I probably won't do a video next week. But I will say that looking at the previews for the prediction show next week, they're bringing back Johnny. Now, if you guys have been watching the show for a while, Johnny's from season 13 or season 12. And I think they were in Houston, if I remember correctly. I was hoping I'd go the rest of my life without seeing Johnny ever again. So I'm kind of mad that I have to see him on my TV again. But I will watch next week's episode. Again, I most likely won't do a video next week. But please, comment on this video below. Tell me what you think about Alexis telling Justin that she's 90% sure of what her decision is going to be. I don't think 90% is a bad thing, though. That's over an A. That's like, that's an A. I don't understand why they're both like, 90% wouldn't be enough for me. I don't think anybody's ever 100% about anything. Even when you get married to a person, like the quote-unquote traditional way, you may be 100% sure about the person you're marrying. You may not be 100% sure that it's going to work out. Like, 100% is a lot to ask for someone after 8 weeks, I personally think. Because you're always going to have a little trepidation here or there. It's always going to be something that's in the back of your mind like, I don't know. I don't know about this. I feel like that's normal, right? So let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the fact that Mitch didn't wear his ring. Would you care? I think I don't even know if that it's him taking his ring off. It's more of his rationality behind it. Like, because you want to have to explain yourself. That just seems like a really flimsy excuse to me. May not be to you. But tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you think about Stasha and Nate. And do you think that they're going to be able to move into this house and actually have it be their house? What needs to happen for this to really comfortably be their house? Like, what do you guys think? And I think I talked about Sasha and Nate, right? I'm almost positive that I did. I hope I did in this video. I'm so sorry if I didn't. I'm still thinking about the other video that I did. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you comment below. Make sure you click the subscription. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell. Like and share this video. And like I said, I probably won't do a video next week, but I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. All right? So you guys be easy, be great, and yeah, see you soon. Peace.